Okay, so we're going to talk about vectors in R2 and in R3. To start off, we'll show what what we mean by that, and we're just talking about two-dimensional objects. So this is the type of grid we would use for that, where we have an x-axis and a y-axis. Okay, so we have our x-axis and our y-axis. And we have vectors in this area. So we can represent these vectors on grids. For instance, let's say we have our first vector here. Actually, let's do one that might be easy to cover. And we have another vector maybe here. What we do to represent these vectors is both of them are starting at the origin, which is where we want most of our vectors to start. We're going to call this point A and this point B. So our first vector here can be called vector OA. And we call it O because it starts at the origin, okay, which is also 0, 0. Our second vector here can be represented as OB. They're actually going to have coordinates too. For instance, O is 0 for both of these, and A is at 5 and 3, and B is at 3 and 8. Okay. Now, if we were to possibly add our vectors together, let's say, is that going to be too high up? Oh, shoot. It is. Oh well. Say we were adding vector, or what we can do is we'll use a lowercase letter to represent these two, so I'm going to call this just vector A and vector B. Okay. So here's our A, here's our B. Let's say we're adding the two together, vector A plus vector B. Well, that means we'd follow A, and I'm going to move vector B just over from where it was. Okay. And we get a new resultant vector. We'll keep the original. So I should have kept the original. Oh, there we go. Here's our original one. We have our OB. And our new resultant vector, blue, is way up here. I know it's a little off the grid, but it also has a coordinate. Okay, starts at 0, and its coordinate is 8 and 11. Okay, we're going to talk about how we can add those up later. Okay, but this is essentially working with vectors in 2 dimensions. We're working with x, y axis, straightforward stuff we've done many times before.